This was one of those things where you can't believe how good something could be. Now, I'll tell you how good this can be.
Yeah.
This is a New York Times article called "How China's Influences Elections in America's Biggest City." It's about New York City.
Yeah, bookmark this one. If you're going to take anything away from the show and to read afterwards, this is it.
Yes.
This particular article is fantastic.
It is. So
Yeah.
I saw competing news outlets, and let's be honest, mainstream media hates each other, right?
Yeah.
The news outlets are competing, right? They're trying to
Yeah.
get the biggest story and everything. New York Times did a massive investigation, okay, in how the CCP is influencing elections. I'll tell you why it's important. Everyone knows that China's influencing America.
Yes.
They know that they're buying a farmland. They know that they're in the educational institutes. People know that they're trying to smuggle bioweapons in. People know that they did Salt Typhoon. They hacked all the telecoms. People know that the Chinese government hacked our infrastructure and is trying to be able to shut off water and electricity so that they can invade Taiwan. They know all these horrible things, right, about China.
Yeah.
What China always managed to get away with scot-free is saying, we don't do any of that stuff, but we definitely don't get involved in elections, democratic elections. That's your problem. We don't meddle.
Yes.
Turns out they meddle a lot.
They're the most meddlesome.
Competing outlets were talking about this article from New York Times saying, we have to give credit where credit's due. This is epic.
Yes.
Literally the word epic,
Yes.
right? These news outlets that don't even like each other are like, read this.
Yes.
They're like, please read this. Yeah. That's how big
So what's the gist?
So here's the gist. China has been basically involved in these elections in New York City, which is America's pretty much the most influential city in America, right? It's definitely the biggest city.
Sure.
And what they do is they use these friendship associations.
You see them always, the
Yes.
Chinese Friendship Associations. It could be the Fujian Friendship Association or whatever.
Yes.
But yes, there are lots of them all over.
So China's consulate in New York has been covertly influencing city politics by mobilizing these community groups. They're called hometown associations. So basically, you get your Chinese hometown. So let's say you're from Fujian. You'll have the Fujian Hometown Association that opens up an umbrella office in New York City.
Yes.
They get to operate as a non-governmental organization. They get to run tax-free. Okay.
Yes.
These groups are often tax-exempt nonprofits, and they back candidates in New York City that are favorable to Beijing.
Yes.
So they're not friendship organizations. They're not hometown associations. They are Beijing's, basically their
Influence.
tentacles and influence inside America's democracy.
Yeah.
And they shut down people who support Taiwan, Hong Kong democracy, or criticize China's government. Strategy ensures influence at local levels while building long-term leverage if politicians rise to national office. So some people might say, I don't care about New York City. I'll tell you why you should care. And I got a quote here.
Okay.
This is a quote from Audrey Wong, an AEI fellow on why China targets New York City races locally. You never know which politician might eventually run for Congress at a national level or become a presidential candidate. You see how this matters?
Yes.
People get started in New York City politics. That's already almost the top dog.
Yeah.
You might end up as a national politician that is now favorable to Beijing.
Correct.
Right? Listen to this. This is somebody who was plotting against one of the candidates. Okay.
All right.
This is a Chinese intelligence agent named Chi Minlin. Okay.
Right.
He said, violence would be fine too. Beat him until he cannot run for the election. They had Chinese spies that were plotting to get rid of people running for Congress to make sure the pro-Beijing candidate wins. And guess what? They always win.
They do, because they
always
intimidate. You know, the Chinese communities, the diaspora, they are very cut off from actual American society, I find. And they're very influenced by news from China and from Chinese groups. And because they all hang out in the same areas, they all shop in the same Asian supermarkets, they all know each other. It's just the way it works. They all hang out in those areas. They're influenced. And they have basically a mafia. The CCP mafia will let people know, hey, if you vote for that person and we find out you're done, your family in China, we're going to deal with them. You know, that type of thing. They put on all this intimidation stuff. And they can very easily sway what people vote for in China, in America, sorry.
Yeah, so this is how they do it. This is how they influence. They use hometown associations.
Yep.
They use social clubs.
Yep.
Some of them are very old that they've co-opted. Okay. They pressure, intimidate. So politicians are targeted for attending Taiwan events.
Yes.
So if you go to there was one woman that was polling so high, and then she went to like a pro-Taiwan, not even a pro-Taiwan, it was just a Taiwanese event, and she lost the election. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
And they get punished for supporting democracy and movements. Consulate involvement, the direct presence at ceremonies. Officials led pledges supporting Beijing's policies. So this is illegal. You can't have the Chinese consulate operating in America's democracy, right?
But they do.
You have illegal electioneering. So at least 19 tax-exempt nonprofits broke U.S. law by endorsing candidates or fundraising.
Right.
And you have their long-term bet. They're hoping that they get a winner that is actually going to run in national politics, right? Mm-hmm. We had targeted politicians. We had Yan Xiong, which is a Tiananmen activist turned congressional candidate. Beijing linked there was a Beijing-linked spy plotted blackmail and violence against him.
Right.
Zhang Liao was pressured after meeting Taiwan's president, lost backing from the Chinese groups. Mm-hmm. Yuan Chu, which is a state senator from Taiwan, punished for attending Taiwan events, later unseated with consulate-backed rival.
Yeah.
This is in America.
Yeah.
Yi Chan, which is a city council candidate, attacked for past support of Hong Kong democracy, lost to Susan Zhuang, who later channeled city funds to pro-Beijing nonprofits, by the way. Mm-hmm. And they supported politicians like Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, endorsed by at least 9 groups tied to Beijing. Controversies over red envelope payments and campaign ties. Apparently, they're giving red envelopes of cash to journalists.
Yeah, that was exposed.
Susan Zhuang, who is a city council member supported by dozens of consulate-linked backed groups, redirected over $300,000 of city funds to them. Mm-hmm. There's been federal investigations. The FBI involvement here was arrested leaders of the America Changle Association for running a secret Chinese police station in New York City. We covered that. Yeah. Indicted Ho Chul's former aide for conspiring with consulate-linked associations, and they questioned Chinatown leaders in 2025 about consulate pressure. So China denies all this stuff. But we started with this secret police station in New York City, and this is after this investigation here with what New York Times has done. We've now been able to figure out that they're much deeper than that.
Well, of course, and we've known about these organizations for the longest time, and also the Confucius Institutes and all of that. They're all tied together.
For sure.
And one thing that really pisses me off about all of this is that they have these nonprofits, like you say, that are tax exempt and that get taxpayer funding. Yeah. They actually managed to steal American taxpayers' money, through whichever way. They don't have to pay any tax, and they are actually influence arms of the Chinese government. So, in a way, America is paying to be influenced and paying to be infiltrated by the Communist Party of China. It shouldn't be allowed.
Yes, you should definitely check out this article. The be-all and end-all is China systematically used community associations in New York City, friendship organizations, old-time organizations that had ties.
They're not friendship, they're enemy organizations. Yes. Just call them what they are.
Right. Hometown associations. They use them to intimidate opponents, elevate their allies, and normalize Beijing's agenda within U.S. politics. The influence is local, but has national implications as supported politicians rise in power.
Yes.
Not good.
Not good at all.
I'm so happy this was done.
Yes, great article. Please read it. Send it to people that you think might be skeptical about all of this, because it's very good journalism.
The Chinese government...
Now,
this too.
Yeah, this too. Let's take a look. We'll just play this clip first.
Targeted me with an elaborate spying operation. I study East Asian studies at Stanford, and last summer, a man with many mutuals on social media reached out to me. He claimed to be a fellow student. The interaction raised alarm bells. I started to document the conversation. Eventually, he invited me to visit China. He sent me a travel itinerary and offered to pay for my flights and accommodation. He also sent me videos of Americans who become rich and famous in China, and told me that if I were to visit China, I too could become prosperous. I ended our communications when he commented on one of my Instagram posts, requesting that I delete screenshots of our conversation. I had no idea how he knew that I had been documenting our conversation. I alerted the FBI, and they informed me that this sort of interaction is very common at Stanford and other American universities. Chinese spies are particularly focused on targeting and befriending people studying AI and robotics. They're offered large sums of money in an attempt to get them to come to China, bringing with them the know-how and research that they have acquired. It is ingenious but frightening what the Chinese Communist Party does.
So, this is one of those things,
Make us big.
Yeah. Oh, well. Here's the thing. You've got these guys who go on social media and they pretend this guy was pretending to be a student, and he already was friends with lots of her mutual friends, other universities. So he's obviously wormed his way into social engineered his way in there, and he pretends like he's a student in Stanford with them, and like try to make friends, and then be like, hey, you should come to China. And he'll show probably some shill videos of these moralless foreigners who go and do the Chongqing 22nd floor stuff or whatever, and say, look, these guys are having a great time. They're famous in China. They've made a lot of money or whatever. You can do that too. And this is how you get a shill, is you convert them to go over there. But it's not only that. They're digging for sensitive information.
Oh, yeah. It's not just shill stuff.
Yeah, First of all, they will use you as propaganda.
100%.
They always do. So if you've got remember the Duke University students all went to China. They ended up being like just crushed with this propaganda nonsense from the moment they woke up to the moment they went to sleep. They were on state media. They were being interviewed, all that, and they went everywhere. They weren't happy about that. But you'll be used for propaganda, number one. And number two, they specifically target, and they've been targeting young white women students. That's been their biggest target at the moment. And they want to get
doesn't
people...
mean that not everyone else is a target.
No, they target it, but that's their main target at the moment. Yeah. And what they're doing is they're trying to get them to go over to China on a trip so that they can get their hooks into them, right? Because then they pay for their whole itinerary. They pay like thousands of dollars worth of travel and stuff. So now you owe them something.
Yeah.
So when they come and they ask you about like, hey, so you're studying in the robotics field. Why don't you come have a talk about that? Then they'll be approached and be like, hey, we're doing a research project over here. Why don't you come and do some lectures or something? And all they're after is the information that you have access to.
Hey, can you introduce me to this professor that you have that worked on this certain project that we're very interested in?
Why don't we share knowledge? Why don't you tell us about what you're doing? That kind of thing. So it's a way to spy, and it's a way to gain access and get your hooks into people and basically create assets.
China's spying on the U.S. and making marks out of these people, and it's very unnerving. It's very interesting, but if anybody in the audience ever wants us to like verify something, we can probably have a look at it. Just reach out to us and we'll see.
No, absolutely. Like here's the thing. I'm going to tell you, if you get contacted by anyone from China and you're in any sort of a sensitive, it doesn't matter. Like if you're studying technology or anything that you think, chemicals, if you get contacted out of the blue and you start getting offers to go to China, they're going to pay for your flight. Please reach out to us. So
we can at least help you look at it.
We can help you decide whether or not that's legit or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, the fact is you're dealing with someone who looks harmless, international student, got pictures of, this is fun and stuff, but it's actually a spy. All right? These are some of the screenshots of, the conversations they were having. And, he says, I have friends from Stanford visiting me in China. Do you remember the senior blah, blah, puts a person? She was on a TV show in China and is famous now, you see? Shows like
he was like an example.
Yeah, an example. And then like she's like, I can't really pay for that. And it's like, I'll pay for it. And then he sends itineraries like, here, this. You get the idea. Just don't fall for this trap. I remember you left my spirit. With you high is all
I'm feeling. We have discovered that there was a microclimate of music that was only happening in Hong Kong. It's basically a sad anthem for Chinese people about getting rejected.
And this is actually one of the first songs I ever learned to sing.
Mine too. I love this.
It's a fan. Nobody would have a TV in their home. I'm just saying, there's so many cool birds.
These pigeons are so Chinese. It's Chinese culture, homing pigeons.